You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 147 of Teach Better Talk. My name is Ray Hewart, and as always, I'm with my very motivating friend, Jeff Cargis. How are you, Jeff?
I'm good, very motivated. Where'd that come from?
Well,
that's not you.
No, it's not for me. That's from Brittany Wolf, who posted on Facebook saying that she felt like you were so motivating and you really hold her accountable, and she just really appreciates having a teammate. And so I thought that was so sweet. I love Brittany.
Yeah, Brittany, she's awesome. She's super cool.
For a listener who may not know Brittany, Jeff, I know you've been friends with her for a long time. Would you just give a little background on her? She's doing incredible things. She's somebody all of you should go connect with.
Yeah, so Brittany Wolf is an amazing young woman who she was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome at age 7. I don't know how old she is now, but she's not 7. But she's been in about I think it's been maybe 3 years now. 3 or 4 years ago, she started sort of sharing her story and her journey on YouTube, and it was a way for her to sort of overcome some of her self image thing and stuff. And one thing that I love about it is like she doesn't edit in any of her videos, so like you see every single tick and everything that happens, and she doesn't hide any of that. She lets it out. And what she started doing was, she started touching this community that there was so many people out there, and she wasn't even aware of how many kids are out there who, come to her and talk to her, or parents write her and say, like, you're giving my kid inspiration and all this stuff. And so she started doing different things for it. She now does a 5K walk run every year that she raises money for Tourette's Association. And then I don't know how long ago, 6-7 months ago, she got asked to speak at a college, College of Medicine here in Ohio. And she came to me about, she didn't know how to handle that, like what she should do. And that kind of sparked for her this, hey, I think I really want to do this next level. I want to start sharing this. I want to start getting it out and taking it. And then you and I were like, you need to come share this at the Teach Better conference. And that was where she put that together. She did. And then we said, you need to be part of this, the teachers or the speakers network. But she's just phenomenal. I just love that she's just sharing her story. Her and her husband are just good people, huge dog lovers. They're adorable with their dogs.
I do love good dog loving people. Those are my people.
Yes, yes, Brittany and Scott are definitely your people. But yeah, super excited to just have her on with us. She's doing some traveling with us this summer to different things, and excited to watch her grow. It's been really cool to watch her grow for a while now, but now being able to have a part of that is really, really cool. So thanks, Brittany.
Yeah, she thinks you're motivating. I think you're okay, but that's all right. I think Brittany's way more motivating, but all right, whatever.
I gotcha. So we were talking before this. We wanted to give a shout out to a good friend of ours who's got some really cool stuff, some cool news coming up. Do you want to take that?
I totally do. Only because when I met her in real life, okay, guys, Allyson Apsey. I've been following her on social media forever. Yes, I am a stalker and have all of her books. Guys, she is even cooler when you meet her in person. She is like this gorgeous genius woman. She came to Teach Better 19. It was super fun to hang out with her. And she has a brand new book coming out. Like, no kidding, Saturday, the 15th. So it will be 2 days available when this podcast comes out, that it is officially out for everyone to go grab. And I think this book is special because it's not for teachers. I kind of like that. Like, this is an educator who writes books to help teachers in a variety of different capacities. And now she was like, okay, what else do I want to do? And if you ask her, she's like, I just wanted to write a book that was going to be useful, purposeful, and relevant for middle schoolers. And so when I heard that, hello, middle school teacher, I'm like, no way is she putting this all together. And it is officially out. And it is so great. So the new book is called The Serendipity Journal. And like I said, it's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble on the 15th. So it's only been out for a few days. And I know Allyson's doing a lot of different book signings and like a ton of launch stuff over the next few weeks, few months, whatever. But I think it's cool to like celebrate awesome educators doing cool things. And I don't know, Jeff, don't you feel like this is really a great leap for her that she's now supporting, children?
I will second the fact that she is even cooler than you can imagine in person. I want to mention, because I'm in Ohio, so this isn't actually that far from me, but on the 22nd of February, she's doing a signing at Barnes & Noble in Holland, Michigan. So she's just up north of me. And I got to tell my Allyson story, because I just thought this was so just sweet, cool, awesome, whatever you want to call it. I was at a conference a few weeks back in Michigan, in Grand Rapids, and that's about an hour south of where Allyson is. And I reached out. I said, "Hey, like, I'm going to be somewhat remotely near you." She said, "Oh yeah, I'll come down and I'll meet you. We'll go to dinner." And so we did that. Well, I find out that she flew into Grand Rapids from New York that day. So she got there landed at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, drove home, and then drove back to hang out with me. And I'm like, this is like, she's a super cool person, and awesome.
Trying to make me jealous that you got to see her recently.
I had a little bit of alternative motive there to make you jealous. So I did do that. I'm glad you felt that.
I'm feeling it.
I think we're both just super excited for her. So we really just want to give her a shout out. I'm going to put, stuff in the show notes so you can go find the book and get connected with her on Twitter and everything like that. So super excited for that. So I'm glad we did that. Allyson, you're awesome. I hope you're blushing right now.
Yes, and Allyson, I'm getting your book for my students. I cannot wait to have it in my hands.
So let's talk about our guest tonight.
Let's do that.
So Kyle Neimis is a former science teacher, 12 years as a science teacher, and has turned into an educational technology coach. And I love his talk about what he gets to do. I'm going to let him say it, but I think it's just awesome how he describes what he does and what his work is. He's also a graduate level professor of education at TCNJ in New Jersey. He really specializes in universal design, UDL, in a flipped classroom, and we talk about that, sort of his journey of his flipped classroom, and getting into that universal design for his students and stuff. And he's also, in his spare time, he's also the co-founder of something called ClassroomQ, which, if you don't know ClassroomQ, we talk about a little bit in this episode. It's something cool that I tell him in the episode, and we literally do. We recommend it to teachers all the time when we work with them. So super, super excited. This was a great episode. I'm really glad that we were able to get him in. This was a weird recording on a Wednesday night versus our normal Monday nights, but totally worth it. Super excited for it. Ray, any last little words that people need to maybe pay attention to, or something that stuck out for you?
No, I think the biggest thing for Kyle is just this tool is so simple and can make the biggest difference in your classroom management, especially if you are having that mastery learning, personalized learning mindset of trying to offer voice and choice and allow your students to really take ownership in the process of their learning. So yes, listen to this episode. Yes, go connect with Kyle, but then go check out ClassroomQ, because I really enjoy it in my classroom. It's so easy. There's no problem setting it up. It's the easiest teacher tool ever, and it's super useful. So you got to check it out.
And with that, let's get in episode 147 with Kyle Neimis. All right, we're here. We are chatting with Kyle Neimis. And Kyle, man, it's awesome to have you on. We're actually trying something a little bit different with this episode. We got video going. And so you're like our guinea pig here. You've been super cool about it so far. Much, much cooler than Ray has been. But we're good to go. Super excited to have you on, kind of dive into your story, learn more about you. But before we get too far into that, man, how you feeling right now?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate that.
Oh, Kyle, it's going to be so fun to have you on. I've been waiting for this episode for, I feel like, ages, and finally have you on Teach Better Talk is absolutely where we should be. So the first question is super easy. I know that you'll be able to answer this one, but it's all about talking about you. And we just want to hear about what you do in education, kind of how you would typically describe yourself.
So I always still say I'm a teacher. I was a science teacher for 12 years. I had a whole journey with that for sure. And now I'm recently in an ed tech coach role. So what I currently do, as I said, is a tech coach. And just really try to obviously coach and help people out. But I feel like this is going to sound really corny, but I really like to make people's dreams come true, which I know sounds super Disney World. Okay, so let me tone that down. The corniness. I like to let people do things that they couldn't do beforehand, like Skype with someone around the world, or do all these things, because teachers are so busy. So that's my new passion for sure, is just how can I help you do the things that you could never do? Because our school never had a tech coach before. And so it's a totally brand new position. So it's been super, super fun.
That's really cool. I love that you say make people's dream come true, because there's so much that teachers want to do all the time, and they have these ideas, but they don't necessarily know whether the tools are available. Maybe they don't know how to use multiple tools together, and that's where a tech coach can come in and just make, not to sound corny myself, but like make magic happen, right?
Yeah, totally.
Which not only for the teacher, but also for the students in the classroom stuff. So that's really cool. I like that a lot. So I'm going to sidestep us right away, because you are also the co-founder of ClassroomQ. So I have sort of a two-part. One, can you, for anybody who's listening who doesn't know what ClassroomQ is, can you kind of give us the breakdown of like what that is and how a teacher might use it in their classroom? And then I'd love to hear sort of how you got in there, like where it came from, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I always describe, so ClassroomQ is honestly, it's the simplest tool I think that is possibly out there in the ed tech world. It's basically like a digital deli ticket system for your classroom. So instead of a kid raising their hand and waiting there or putting their name on the board, whenever kids are on devices, writing papers or working on projects or coding or whatever it is, they kind of just click a button and the teacher is notified. And the student basically, it'll tell them, hey, you're third in line or second in line. The teacher has a queue. So they can work through the queue nice and easy. The kid can get back to work as opposed to sitting there wasting their time with their hand up. And it's just one of those tools that has become, unlike maybe some tools you might use like once every couple months, and it's like kind of has that, wow, this is one of those tools that just kind of, for a lot of teachers, becomes like part of their daily routine, which is pretty cool.
Which is really cool. And so we actually, we do a lot of training, a lot of implementation with schools and teachers on mastery learning, self-paced learning, personalized learning. So ClassroomQ is actually a tool that we recommend a lot.
All the time.
Because we have sort of a, we call it a triage system of using a series of 3 cups that show their level of need. But like some teachers don't have that. They, the cups slide off, or they worry about the kids doing that. And it's like, oh, well, here's this really simple app where the whole purpose of the cup is that I've taken some sort of action and I know my teacher is aware of that. So now I can go back to work. And ClassroomQ does the same thing where I click this button. It's so simple. I think you can add like a comment, I think too, right? Like maybe like tell them what you need or whatever. And then I can go back to work because I know now my teacher knows how to do it. I don't have to sit here like this with my hand up, right? My arm's getting tired. I'm getting frustrated. So you called it simple when it's a simple tool, but it's actually really powerful because of that. And I think that's why you see those teachers continually using it. So I'm not trying to make you blush, but it's a really cool tool. So curious as to sort of, so you're a co-founder with it. So I'm guessing that means there was 2 of you, right?
Yeah. So so basically it was my idea. I was at a tech conference and I thought someone was presenting a tool that was basically ClassroomQ, because I was like, yes, finally something where like my kids don't have to sit there with their hand in the air. Yeah. And then it was something else. And so when I Googled it, I'm like, all right, so let's find the tool that's out there. I was kind of surprised that it didn't exist already. Yep. So then I had that, crossroads like everyone does, and they have an idea of like, what do you do? Like, I'm just a science teacher. Like, what? Yeah. I don't know what to do. So luckily I asked someone and I was like, does anyone know anyone who knows how to, make something like this? And so I got connected with another teacher who used to work in my district who went somewhere else. And I called him up and introduced myself and said, listen, I'm not some crazy idea, man. I promise you. I just let me know if you think this could ever work. And he's like, I actually think that could be cool. So him and I partnered together, and over the course of a year, we worked on it and contracted lots of people to make it, and it came to life. And I'm still like shell shocked whenever I see like anyone on Twitter from around the world like using it. Like it's still wild to see your idea come to life, and so it's been super cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. So if you're listening, what's the website for someone to go to and check that out? We'll make sure it's in the show notes, but where do we go for that?
So it's classroomq.com, and it's just the letter Q, classroom.q.com. That's it.
Awesome. That's really cool. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. So I want to talk through now. So 12 years as a teacher, you're a tech coach now. You've got this idea that you brought to life and has grown and stuff. So I'm interested in see where you go with this. So one of the things we love to talk about on our podcast is about failure. I always say it. I'm always joking that I'm fortunate to have failed a lot because I've learned from all of it. I didn't necessarily like all the failures as they happen, but I love being able to reflect back now. I mean, it was just, I was talking to just yesterday, actually, maybe it was today. I don't know what it was. And I reflected on something that happened like 10 years ago. And it clicked for me. I'm like, that's why that didn't work. And it's so cool to be able to reflect back and see that. So I love talking about it. So wonder if you can kind of share a story with us. Tell us about a time that you've had a failure in your life. Tell us what happened, how to make it feel, how'd you overcome it, and then what you take away from that experience.
Yeah, so I guess if we're going to talk about failure specifically in the classroom, I could think of, when I kind of went down my flipped classroom journey, I guess let's just say 7 years ago when the flipped classroom revolution was kind of really starting, I caught wind of it, and I was always kind of in for taking chances. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna try this, and it was a flop. It was really. I remember there was this mom. I didn't make my own lessons. I sent kids home to watch videos, and there was this mom who called me up, and I just had my daughter at the time, and she was really upset because her kid was struggling, and she said, "Hey, listen, I get that you don't want to teach anymore, so you're just having my kids watch videos." And of course, at the time I was like, well, no way. But like, she was right. I was totally doing it the wrong way. And so I tweaked it. And then not long after that, I had a student who was like, listen, I can't learn from your videos. Like, so it was really like this like journey of like, of a lot of failures from parents and kids, but it really, what it did. So the best thing was this one girl who said like, I can't learn from your videos. I'm sorry. I just don't like your videos. And of course, again, at the time it stung and you're trying to figure out what to do. But that moment, it was such a pivotal moment in my teaching career because it forced me to reflect and be like, okay, so like you can't learn from my videos. Talk to me. What can I do? And then that totally took me down this UDL journey that I have really gone down with giving students choice. And since then, my classroom really became this classroom where some kids watch videos and some kids were holding a heart and some kids were up at so it really became this total UDL environment, all because it really forced me to think, what else can I do to meet these needs? So you're totally right that a lot of things sting and they're hard to get over and failures aren't fun. But I don't know, that was a turning point for me for sure.
But I love that you took that, and I'm sure it stung at the time, probably worse than you even made it sound here. But that then your response to that was, okay, talk to me. Like, let me listen to you. Let me like find out like what it is versus where, sometimes we get defensive and we're like, well, okay, you can't, but everyone else can't, or why can't you? Versus, okay, talk to me. What's going to help you? What can I do to be better for you? Like that to me. I mean, that's the teach better mindset. That's exactly what that is. So that's awesome. You're speaking right to us. So that was a great story. I appreciate that a lot. So let's flip it now. Let's talk about a successful moment you've had, and this can be something big or something small. But tell us what happened. Why was it a success for you? And then what did you take away from that experience?
So I guess the tying together a little bit, right? Because my failure led to the success of student choice. And I know that you guys are all about self-paced student choice, teachers off the stage, the stage on the stage. So, I mean, I guess, like I said, that my success was getting off the stage of teaching. And for a lot of the reasons. So, for any teacher out there who's listening right now, who's a blended learning person, like, all this already, but my goodness, like I think my favorite thing about not being on the stage, besides, of course, kids are learning better and yada, was like the connections you made with kids. Like right? Like as soon as you are outside the stage and you are talking to kids, like, oh my gosh, like the relationships you had, and it's like, oh yeah, and they're also learning better and they're happy about that. But like, I loved coming to work every day because I got to actually do what I love, which is just hanging out with kids and talking to kids. So, I very much recommend that.
And you're taking that from one conversation to 30 kids to 30 individual conversations. So you're getting to know them, right? I mean, that's awesome. I love that. That's what was the success piece of that. So that's awesome.
It's one of my favorite things about offering voice and choice in a personalized learning environment is truly my selling point when teachers are like, why do you do this? It's a lot of front loading. You really have to always be flexible. And I'm like, yeah, but I know my students better than I ever have before. And I have such deeper connections with them now that I have time to actually interact with them, because before, time that I would take to interact with them was essentially like putting all the rest of the students on pause and then deciding to jump in and only get to know that one student or small group. And so it's been awesome. I love that you brought that up. So with everything that you're doing, I mean, Kyle, geez, you have your hand in so many different progressive avenues. You're supporting teachers. You're doing so many different things. What's keeping you excited about education right now? What's like fueling your fire?
Currently, I guess right now, if we're going to go like today, because I feel like my fire changes every day of what gets me pumped and excited. I've been really into the global connections piece, honestly. Like today I was working with a French teacher, and we were figuring out how to have this Flipgrid connection with a class in France. And so to me, that's been really cool this year. That's been really where I've been putting a lot of my energy, is just this kind of global piece. So currently that's where my fire is, because I just like, mystery Skypes and all that stuff. It's just so cool seeing kids like who they would never connect with in like they always seem to do like TikTok dances with us. Like whenever they connect with someone else, I was like, "Hey, do you TikTok dance?" And I was like, and all of a sudden, like they're dancing with a class from North Dakota, and it's just I don't know. So that's been my fire lately, is just connecting people way outside their four walls, for sure.
Well, and maybe you'll link these, but question 5 always has to do with giving advice. Maybe it's to a new teacher, to a veteran teacher, somebody listening to Teach Better Talk who could take something away. What piece of advice would you give them? And I think even them maybe learning about, having that global connection is something that teacher could take away if they're not utilizing that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so it's definitely, and it's not as overwhelming as I think people think it is. You know what I mean?
So what advice would you give them if they wanted to maybe start, you've done so many things. What piece of advice do teachers need to hear?
For global connections or just in general?
Well, maybe in general.
Whew, that's such a big one. So it's so hard because my gut reaction says take lots of chances. Totally don't be scared, but that also fits my personality. You know what I mean? And that doesn't fit everyone's personality. You know what I mean? So for me, I would say take chances. And I think for a new teacher, what I would say is just because it was the way you were taught does not mean you need to teach that way. And that's actually a conversation I was having today, because I work with new teachers a lot. That's a passion of mine too, is I really, my goodness, like I said, everything that you guys are doing with the way you guys are promoting learning, that wasn't how it was back in the day. You know what I mean? And I think that so many first year teachers, they're just trying to survive. So they do what they know, but then and they're stuck in this rut of just I don't know, we're going down the same cycle. So I don't know.
Got to take some risk and break it up. So let's flip it to that though, because now I'm curious to ask this. So what would be the first step or the first piece of advice if they do want to go towards that global connection piece? Since you're into that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many awesome avenues right now. So I can just tell them some of my favorite places. There's so many people who want to connect. So I don't know if do you guys know Impactico? Do you guys know that?
Do you? Okay. I don't know.
It's an amazing platform. So it's only for, I think, 6th grade and below, but you just kind of put in your name and they say, hey, here's my name. I'd love to talk about the weather or culture or whatever it is. And they just basically partner you up. Hey, you've been partnered with this class around the world. And then you guys connect. That's their entire mission, is to connect classrooms. So, or awesome. Even Grid Pals on Flipgrid, thousands of little green dots that people are just saying hey, I'm ready to chat when you are. So I just think that Grid Pals or Impactico are just such an easy way just to go find people. Or I'm big on just Twitter. I feel I'll just find someone from anywhere and be like, you guys want to talk? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, let's do it. So don't be scared to reach out and find people. People are usually pretty open to hanging out and talking.
I love that. I'll make sure that we link both of those in the show notes as well. But I think also you touched on. I'm glad you touched on just Twitter, just social media in general. You can always just reach out and ask, and then walk through that. So that's super cool. So let's have some fun. Let's do this. And I'm kind of smiling out and Ray smiles too, because I don't know because we've never done this with the video on here like this. So, and I don't know whether we're going to be able to put this video out or not. But we get to enjoy it right now. Okay. So what we're going to do is the next 6 questions. Your goal is to answer each one in 15 seconds or less.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
You can do it, Kyle. I think you're going to get the biggest Teach Better Talk trophy that we have.
Okay.
All right. Give us one ed tech tool you cannot live without.
Trello.
Give us a book that you're reading right now.
Talking to Strangers, Malcolm Gladwell.
Who do we need to follow on Twitter or Instagram today? You can give us up to 3.
We Got Teched, the podcast. They're awesome podcast. And Fugal Fun, she's my favorite. She's an art teacher. She just does such awesome stuff with AR.
Cool. Give us a YouTube channel or website for educators.
I love pedagogy.
Always a good one.
And give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
Mine was always give yourself buffer time. If you think it's going to be a half hour's worth of work, give you an hour, because after you do that, that's when the magic happens with your extra time you give yourself. Otherwise, you always feel stressed.
I love that. And what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece. That every person you meet is fighting their own battle, for sure. So just can't forget that.
Nailed it, Ray. Get the trophy.
Okay. That would have been trophy worthy regardless of us trying a new system for this podcast. That was, I am such a fan of especially your last 2 answers, but you had just all across. I am impressed. Very impressed, Kyle.
Thank you.
Well done.
So Jeff, you'll be shipping the trophy over to him, right?
Yeah, I'll get it. I'll get it on.
Yeah, put it in the box and then put the label on there. That'd be great.
Is that how you do that? Is that how I ship?
Well,
put it in the box and put a label on it? Thanks, Ray.
Just want to make sure you had all those steps.
That was great. I don't know what I'd do without you.
You're welcome.
Really tough.
You're welcome.
She's like my own personal Google. I'm just like, Ray, how do I do things? And she tells me, like, just put it in a box and put a label on it.
That's why you keep me around. Don't forget to tape it, though, obviously.
Yeah. I just ship it with a wide open top. Yeah.
Well, Kyle, I want to make sure our listeners can stay connected to you. I know you shared a lot of good tips that will be in our show notes, but there's just so many things you continue to share out to support educators. So would you mind kind of telling us like where people can stay connected?
Yeah, so for the most part, I'm on Twitter at Kyle Neimis, Niemis, and honestly, that's pretty much where I live. And I said, or you can head over to ClassroomQ.com if you want to check out our tool.
Awesome, and you can find all the links and resources, everything we mentioned in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as the links to connect with Kyle and check out ClassroomQ and a couple of those global connection links that he mentioned as well. So that'll all be over at teachbetter.com in the show notes. Make sure you check that out. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating and review, we'd really, really appreciate that as well. And let's keep taking this one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these awesome stories and share this podcast with them. We'd really appreciate that. Kyle, this was awesome, man. Really appreciate you taking a risk with us here, right? And trying something new with us. Coming on and just sharing your story, man. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, this was fun. Thank you.
And until next time, let's get out there and let's teach better.